of those we lost, the heroes who stood against those evil times. And today we gather, nearly 50 nations strong, here in Jerusalem to say with one voice, never again. Through pogroms, persecutions, and expulsions in the ghettos, and finally even through the death camps, the Jewish people clung to an ancient promise that He would never leave you or forsake you, and that He would lead this people to inherit the land that He swore to your ancestors that He would give them. And so today, as we bear witness to the strength and the resilience and the faith of the Jewish people, so too we bear witness to God's faithfulness to the Jewish people. May the memory of the martyrs be enshrined in the hearts of all humanity for all time. May God bless the Jewish people, the state of Israel, the United States, and all the nations gathered here. And may He who creates peace in the heavens create peace for us and for all the world. Oseh Shalom Bimro Ma Huye Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Akol Yes Israel Vayim Ru. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Europe, on the eve of World War II. European Jews were integrated into society, contributing in every field, from art and science to industry and literature. But as post-World War I Germany descended into severe economic crisis and social upheaval, Hitler saw an opportunity to seize power by turning age-old European anti-Semitic prejudice into a radical anti-Jewish ideology and policy, blaming the Jews for all of Germany's woes, excluding them from public life, introducing racial laws, and infusing every layer of society with anti-Semitic hatred. As Hitler's power grew, unchecked and unrestrained, anti-Semitic rhetoric quickly evolved into legal restrictions, boycotts, popular violence, arrests, deportations, and ghettos where Jews starved.
בצריף הזה אני למדתי איך לרעוב, איך לסבול, איך לחיות בקור, איך לחיות ברעב אדיר.
It culminated in the final solution, the systematic extermination of around 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children.
קודם כל, הם שלחו את הנשים לתאי הגזים. נורא היום היה לשמוע את הזעקות ואת הייסורים של האנשים ושל הילדים, וזעקו מה מטאטה, מה מטאטה, ואחרי כמה דקות נחנקו.
The goal was not only the annihilation of Jews, but also of Jewish history and culture, while committing the large-scale theft of Jewish property in order to fund the Nazis' heinous crimes. The Nazi war machine devoured country after country, and wherever Nazi boots tread, killing squads, labor, concentration and death camps followed. Over 1,100 ghettos and around 1,000 camps soon covered Europe.
Here we are, together, facing a group of mighty foes who seek our ruin. Here we are, together, defending all that to free men is dear.
The Allies realized that the only way to stop Hitler's armies was to join forces. The Red Army was the first to drive back the massive Nazi armies. Russian soldiers fought a powerful military, facing harsh weather conditions and major shortages of equipment and supplies. In November 1942, the Red Army begins to push the Nazis back from the gates of Stalingrad, freeing Eastern Europe from the Nazi grip, region after region. In July 1943, after freeing North Africa, American forces, together with British troops, joined the battle for Europe through Italy. On June 6, 1944, a large American force, together with British, Canadian, and Australian troops, lands on the beaches of Normandy. They advance through Western Europe, while to the south, French forces join the battles. On July 24, 1944, Soviet soldiers liberate the death camp Majdanek without yet fully understanding the dimensions of the Nazi genocide. From this point on, the Allies close in on Germany. Yet even as the Nazis retreated, they frantically worked to complete the final solution through death marches and mass exterminations of Jews.
אם אתה הולך לאושוויץ, אתה רואה, חודשיים שרפו, לא רק את כל משפחתי, 450,000 איש.
Tens of thousands would die in the death marches.
זה היה מרש בלי סוף. חשבנו שזה לעולם לא ייגמר. מי שרק נעמד לנוע 5 רגעים, ירו בה.
In 1945, the Allies, working in close cooperation, deal the final blows to the Nazi regime. The Red Army liberates Auschwitz-Birkenau, followed by the liberation of Buchenwald and Dachau by the American Army, and Bergen-Belsen by the British. The war in Europe ends with the fall of Berlin and the liberation of the last camp, Theresienstadt. As the liberators, including many Jewish soldiers, stepped through the gates of the camps, they crossed from earth into hell.
И мы открыли ворота. То, что мы там увидели, кровь, трупы и невероятно смрадный запах. В этих бараках выбегали, мы не евреи, сами они скелеты уже, и говорили: я не еврей.
My name is Governor Illingworth and I live in Cheshire. I was present in Belsen camp doing guard duty over the SS-men. The things in this camp are beyond describing. The things they have committed, well, nobody would think they were human at all.
Soviet, American, British, Canadian, and French soldiers that entered the camps found survivors so weak, sick, and malnourished that they could barely stand. The liberators discovered the overcrowded barracks, the rooms for medical experiments, the gas chambers, and the crematoria.
I can never forget that day. Because when I walked through that gate, I saw in front of me what I call the walking dead. I saw human beings that had been beaten, had been starved, had been tortured. They'd been denied everything.
The power of unity overcame the strongest army the world has ever seen and saved humanity from the darkest evil the world had ever known.
After the fall of France to German occupation, the French underground kept the flame of resistance alive. Free French forces joined the Allies and fought to liberate France and other parts of Western Europe. It is my honor to invite His Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic, to deliver his remarks.
Monsieur le Président de l'État d'Israël, cher ami, merci. Monsieur le Premier ministre, Majesté, Altesse royale, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Monsieur le Président du Conseil de Yad Vashem, Monsieur le Président de la Fondation du Forum mondial sur l'Holocauste, Messieurs les grands rabbins, chers survivants, Mesdames, Messieurs, chers amis, les mots peuvent paraître peu de choses. Et vous voir tous ici, rassemblés, dit déjà tellement. Aurait-il pu l'imaginer aujourd'hui? Être unis pour nous souvenir, pour revivre, et faire revivre. Et je salue ce soir avec émotion les survivants de l'Holocauste qui sont parmi nous, les fils et les filles de déportés, les justes, les témoins et les passeurs qui font vivre à Jérusalem la flamme éternelle de la mémoire. Merci à eux. Ils font chaque jour œuvre d'humanité. Il y a 75 ans, presque jour pour jour, le 27 janvier 1945, les soldats de la vaillante Armée rouge entraient à Auschwitz-Birkenau, dans la Pologne occupée par l'Allemagne nazie. Vous avez chacun à votre tour dit ce moment de sidération de l'humanité. Mais à ce moment-là, il n'y a eu nulle fête pour célébrer la libération des camps, nul cri de joie, pas même un cri de colère, seulement le silence et les larmes. Pour les peuples d'Europe épuisés par la guerre, ce ne fut, disait Simone Veil, pas même un événement. Pour les survivants, ce fut à peine un soulagement. Le pire avait déjà eu lieu. Pouvait-on vraiment d'ailleurs en revenir? Tant d'enfants ne retrouveraient jamais leurs parents, tant de parents ne retrouveraient jamais leurs enfants. Ce qu'ils avaient vécu était à la fois indicible et pour beaucoup alors inaudible. L'innommable, l'impensable, l'impardonnable. Et pourtant, certains des rescapés ont vaincu le besoin d'oublier par la nécessité de transmettre, de nommer l'innommable pour faire entendre aux vivants le message des morts, raconter, comme le disait Elie Wiesel, raconter l'enfant qui, dans un abri souterrain, après une chasse à l'homme, demanda à sa mère d'une voix douce, très douce, « Est-ce que je peux pleurer déjà ?» Et le mendiant malade qui, dans un wagon scellé, se mit à chanter pour offrir son âme à ses compagnons. Et la petite fille qui, tenant la main de sa grand-mère, lui chuchota, « N'aie pas peur, n'aie pas peur de mourir. La vie, tu sais, n'est pas si belle qu'on le dit. Je la quitte sans regret. » Elle avait 7 ans. Tout cela est vrai. Tout cela s'est passé. Alors oui, tout garder, tout transcrire, les mots, les gestes, les regards, les souffles, pour tout transmettre. Il fallait répondre à l'appel de Shimon Dubnov, qui disait à ses compagnons du ghetto de Riga, « Frères, inscrivez tout, notez tout, pour le raconter aux générations à venir. » Il fallait poursuivre le travail d'Isaac Chernson, qui, au cœur de la nuit, en 1943 à Grenoble, allait fonder le Centre de documentation juive contemporain. Il fallait continuer le travail de ceux qui, au cœur de l'élimination, rassemblèrent les preuves, documentèrent les crimes, constituant pièce par pièce les archives du martyr juif, prenant leur part de cette indispensable résistance. Il fallait mener l'indispensable combat pour sortir du silence, terrasser le déni, conjurer à jamais l'oubli dévastateur, insupportable, coupable. Il fallait l'énergie folle des prophètes de vérité que furent Serge et Beate Klarsfeld pour retrouver tous les noms, les visages, les vies. Et il fallait ces combats. Et c'est à tous ces combattants que je veux penser ce soir avec vous. Il y eut des lieux pour se souvenir, en France, dans tant de nos pays. Et tous regardent vers ce lieu, Jérusalem. Il y eut des mémoires et des histoires, et il fallait un nom. Et ce fut Yad Vashem. Ici sont conservées les traces du martyre et de l'héroïsme, la mémoire du mal radical et de cet esprit de résistance. C'est pour cela que l'Holocauste ne saurait être une histoire que nous pourrions manipuler ou utiliser ou revisiter. Non. Il y a la justice, il y a l'histoire avec ses preuves, et il y a la vie de nos nations. Ne les confondons pas, au risque de collectivement replonger dans le malheur. Nul n'a le droit de convoquer ces morts pour justifier quelque division ou quelque haine contemporaine. Car tous ceux qui sont tombés nous obligent à la vérité, à la mémoire, au dialogue, à l'amitié. Et quel plus beau symbole que celui de nous voir ici, tous rassemblés et unis, de faire œuvre utile pour lutter contre le déni comme le ressentiment ou les discours de vengeance. Quelle fierté pour moi de voir tant de pays d'Europe unis et de me retrouver aujourd'hui avec le président de la République fédérale d'Allemagne, cher Frank-Walter, et d'être à vos côtés aujourd'hui et de pouvoir vous entendre. L'Europe doit se tenir unie, ne jamais oublier, ne jamais se diviser. C'est aussi cela notre enseignement. Et la communauté internationale ne doit rien oublier non plus de ce que la barbarie est née de la négation de l'autre, du droit international et de la sécurité des nations ainsi bafouées. Et je vous rejoins, cher Vladimir, Monsieur le Président Poutine. Les 5 membres permanents du Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies ont aujourd'hui une responsabilité historique. Et je partage votre volonté, 75 ans plus tard, de nous rassembler tous ensemble. Nous l'avons évoqué il y a quelques jours. Et je souhaite que nous puissions le faire, car nous sommes, de par cette histoire, et depuis la fin du deuxième conflit mondial, les garants d'un ordre international qui tient par le droit, la légalité et le respect de chacun. C'est bien cela qu'il nous faut partout défendre. Et oui, il nous faut cette unité de l'Europe, de la communauté internationale, car aujourd'hui, dans nos démocraties, l'antisémitisme ressurgit, violent, brutal. Il est là. Et avec lui, son cortège de haine et d'intolérance. Avec lui, le racisme. L'antisémitisme, je le dis ici avec clarté, n'est pas seulement le problème des Juifs, non. C'est d'abord le problème des autres. Car à chaque fois dans nos histoires, il a précédé l'effondrement, il a dit notre faiblesse, la faiblesse des démocraties, il a traduit l'incapacité à accepter le visage de l'autre. Il est toujours la première forme du rejet de l'autre. Et quand l'antisémitisme apparaît, tous les racismes prolifèrent, toutes les divisions se propagent, que nul ne pense en sortir gagnant. Alors oui, nous nous retrouvons là parce que, face à ce nouvel antisémitisme, il ne faut rien céder. Nous nous battons, vous en avez rappelé, cher Moshe, quelques-uns des termes dans chacun de nos pays, par des lois, des textes, par la force de la loi, par une action résolue, par la protection, dans le monde réel comme dans le monde virtuel, car les discours de haine sont partout. Et il nous faut éduquer, éduquer. Sans doute avons-nous raté quelque chose. Il nous faut être lucides pour que tant de nos enfants puissent aujourd'hui croire ce qu'ils croient, replonger dans l'abjection des pires préjugés et nourrir des haines que nous pensions avoir fait disparaître. Alors oui, le souvenir est aussi une promesse. Notre présence à Yad Vashem et la présence de nos jeunesses à Yad Vashem est une promesse, car en leur faisant revivre l'intolérable, en leur montrant l'exemple des justes, en leur faisant toucher du doigt la barbarie, nous leur faisons aussi comprendre que l'indifférence contemporaine à l'antisémitisme comme au racisme est notre poison. L'indifférence est déjà la complicité. Je crois très profondément que dans l'éducation, il y a notre antidote contre les haines contemporaines. Péguy, un des plus grands écrivains français, dénonçait ce qu'il appelait souvent les âmes habituées. Les âmes habituées dont parlait Péguy, ce sont celles qui laissent faire. Nous ne laisserons pas faire, car la promesse de la France est bien une promesse de souvenir et d'action. Zachor al tishkar, souviens-toi. Souviens-toi, n'oublie jamais. Ce serment au cœur du judaïsme, la République française l'a fait sien. Elle a gravé la mémoire de la Shoah dans le marbre de ses lois. Elle l'enseigne dans ses écoles. Elle a inscrit les noms de ses enfants sur les murs. La France, par la voix du président Chirac, a regardé son histoire en face et reconnu la responsabilité irréparable de l'État français dans la déportation des Juifs. Elle sait aussi tout ce qu'elle doit à ceux qui, dans les villages de France, dans les églises, ont caché et protégé nos enfants, permettant de sauver 240 000 Juifs de France, 59 000 enfants, quand 11 000 furent déportés. Elle sait ce qu'elle doit à son esprit et ses forces de résistance. Alors ceux qui nient, relativisent ou s'habituent trouveront toujours face à eux la réponse implacable de notre nation. Nos survivants sont nos héros et ils sont devenus des passeurs. Ils ont inspiré des générations de passeurs. Et à leur tour, nos enfants auront à le devenir. Nos enfants deviendront ces témoins, intraitables à leur tour, car ils seront devenus, par ce lieu et par leur apprentissage, ceux qui savent que nous n'avons pas le droit d'oublier, que le récit des vies de nos disparus est devenu inarrêtable. Alors, à leur tour, nos enfants s'inspireront de l'exemple des justes. À leur tour, nos enfants auront à défendre la démocratie et l'humanisme, si fragiles et toujours à reconquérir. Puissions-nous, aujourd'hui, tous ensemble, inspirer un peu notre jeunesse afin qu'elle trouve ce courage et afin qu'à son tour, elle se tienne debout, fière de nos valeurs et qu'elle n'y cède rien et qu'à son tour, elle puisse dire, sachant tout ce qu'elle aura vu, vécu et compris, plus jamais ça, plus jamais ça.
Thank you, President Macron. While Germany sought to break British resolve through brutal bombings, the United Kingdom remained steadfast. British forces, together with those of other allies, drove the Nazis back through North Africa and Europe and liberated Bergen-Belsen and other German concentration camps. It is my honor to invite His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, to deliver his remarks.
Survivors of the Shoah, President Rivlin, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a particular honor, although one of the most solemn kind, to be present here today and on behalf of the United Kingdom to commemorate all those so tragically lost in the Shoah. To come to this sacred place, Yad Vashem, a memorial and a name, is to be faced with that for which no name, no words, and no language can ever possibly do justice. The magnitude of the genocide that was visited upon the Jewish people defies comprehension and can make those of us who live in the shadow of those indescribable events feel hopelessly inadequate. The scale of the evil was so great, the impact so profound, that it threatens to obscure the countless individual human stories of tragedy, loss, and suffering of which it was comprised. That is why places like this and events like this are so vitally important. For many of you here, and for Jewish people across the globe, those stories are your stories. Whether you witnessed and somehow endured the appalling barbarity of the Holocaust personally, or whether it touched your lives through the experience of your loved ones, or through the loss of parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, or other family you were never able to know. But we must never forget that they are also our story, a story of incomprehensible inhumanity from which all humanity can and must learn. For that an evil cannot be described does not mean that it cannot be defeated. That it cannot be fully understood does not mean that it cannot be overcome. And so it is of particular significance that we should gather here in Israel, where so many of those who survived the Holocaust sought and found refuge and built a new future for themselves and this country. In the same way, it has been a singular privilege throughout my life to have met so many Holocaust survivors who were welcomed to the United Kingdom and who began new lives there, contributing immeasurably to the welfare of our country and the world in the years that followed. I have such inspiring memories of remarkable people, such as Anita Lasker-Wallfish, who somehow survived both Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen before moving to Britain after the war. There, as a wonderfully talented cellist, she co-founded the English Chamber Orchestra, of which I am proud to have been patron for the past 43 years. On her arm, she bears the number by which tyranny had sought to make her less than human. Yet through her music, she reminds us of the greatest beauty of which we are capable. Over the years, she has shared her story bravely and powerfully, determined that some good might come from the unspeakable evil she endured and overcame. From the horror, she brought harmony, healing, and hope. Just as each life lost in the Shoah stands for all the millions who died, each inspirational story such as that of Anita Lasker-Wallfish stands for the strength of spirit, the unparalleled courage, the determined defiance of the very best of humanity when confronted with the very worst. For my own part, I have long drawn inspiration from the selfless actions of my dear grandmother, Princess Alice of Greece, who in 1943, in Nazi-occupied Athens, saved a Jewish family by taking them into her home and hiding them. My grandmother, who is buried on the Mount of Olives, has a tree planted in her name here at Yad Vashem and is counted as one of the righteous among the nations. Chasidei Umot Olam. a fact which gives me and my family immense pride. Ladies and gentlemen, almost a lifetime has passed since the horror of the Holocaust unfolded on the European continent, and those who bore witness to it are sadly ever fewer. We must, therefore, commit ourselves to ensuring that their stories live on, to be known and understood by each successive generation. Anita Lasker-Wallfish has said, there is a risk that the Holocaust will be placed under a glass bubble, just like the Napoleonic Wars or the 30 Years' War. But if we don't make the connection between memories of past atrocities and the present, there isn't any point to it. She is, it seems to me, absolutely right. The Holocaust must never be allowed to become simply a fact of history. We must never cease to be appalled nor moved by the testimony of those who lived through it. Their experience must always educate and guide and warn us. The lessons of the Holocaust are searingly relevant to this day. 75 years after the liberation of Auschwitz, Birkenau, hatred and intolerance still lurk in the human heart, still tell new lies, adopt new disguises, and still seek new victims. All too often, language is used which turns disagreement into dehumanization. Words are used as badges of shame to mark others as enemies, to brand those who are different as somehow deviant. All too often, virtue seems to be sought through verbal violence. All too often, real violence ensues, and acts of unspeakable cruelty are still perpetrated around the world against people for reasons of their religion, their race, or their beliefs. Knowing as we do the darkness to which such behavior leads, we must be vigilant in discerning these ever-changing threats. We must be fearless in confronting falsehoods and resolute in resisting words and acts of violence. We must never rest in seeking to create mutual understanding and respect. We must tend the earth of our societies, and we must never forget that every human being is B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. And even a single human life is Ke'olam Malay, like an entire universe. Appalling Jewish tragedy, but it was also a universal human tragedy, and one which we compound if we do not heed its lessons. On this day, in this place, and in memory of the millions who perished in the Shoah, let us recommit ourselves to tolerance. Lived through this darkness will forever, as in the words of the prophet Isaiah, be a light unto the nations to guide the generations that follow.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. We remember here the 1.5 million Jewish soldiers who fought in the Allied armies. Nearly 200,000 of these soldiers were killed in combat. Victor Ullmann was a gifted Austrian Jewish composer, conductor, and pianist who was deported to the Theresienstadt ghetto in September 1942. While imprisoned under horrific conditions, Ullmann continued to compose music and formed an orchestra. He wrote, "By no means did we sit weeping on the banks of the waters of Babylon. Our endeavor with respect to the arts was commensurate with our will to live." Victor Ullmann was murdered in the gas chambers of Auschwitz-Birkenau on October 18, 1944. But his spirit lives on through his music. We will now hear the last movement from Ullmann's 7th Piano Sonata, written while he was incarcerated in Theresienstadt. Nazi Germany, which launched World War II, also initiated and perpetrated the Holocaust. After 5.5 years of bloodshed and destruction, Germany was defeated. Since then, Germany has undergone a complex process of coming to terms with its actions before and during the war, and with its special historic responsibilities. German leaders have expressed their nation's commitment to ensuring that the legacy of the Shoah remains forever a crucial aspect of Germany's identity. It is my honor to invite His Excellency, Mr. Frank-Walter Steinmeier, President of the Federal Republic of Germany, to deliver his remarks.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shehecheleranu Vekiyamanu Vehigianu Lazman Hazeh. Sumatana Umaaseh Shel Chesed Leafsher Il Lasset Bifnechem Dvarim Kan Beyad Vashem Beyom Se. Kvot Hanasi Rivlin, Moshe Kantor Hanichbad, Rav Todot Al Hasmanatchem. Heads of state and government, excellencies, guests from all over the world, and most of all, esteemed witnesses and survivors of the Shoah. Here at Yad Vashem burns the eternal flame in remembrance of the victims of the Shoah. This place reminds us of their suffering, the suffering of millions, and it reminds us of their lives, each individual life. This place remembers Samuel Titelmann, a keen swimmer who won competitions for Maccabi Warsaw, and his little sister Riga, who helped her mother prepare the family meal for Thabas. This place remembers Ida Goldish and her 3-year-old son Willy. In October, they were deported from Chisinau ghetto, and in January, in the bitter cold, Ida wrote her last letter to her parents. I quote, "I regret from the very depths of my soul that on departing, I did not realize the importance of the moment, that I did not hug you tightly, never releasing you from my arms. Germans deported them. Germans burned numbers on their forearms. Germans tried to dehumanize them, to reduce them to numbers, to erase all memory of them in the extermination camps. They did not succeed. Samuel and Riga, Ida and Willy were human beings, and as human beings, they live on in our memory. Yad Vashem gives them, as it says in the book of Isaiah, a monument and a name. I too stand before this monument as a human being and as a German. I stand before their monument, I read their names, I hear their stories, and I bow in deepest sorrow. Samuel and Riga, Ida and Willy were human beings. And this also must be said here. The perpetrators were human beings, they were Germans. Those who murdered, those who planned and helped in the murdering, and the many who silently towed the line, they were Germans. The industrial mass murder of 6 million Jews, the worst crime in the history of humanity, it was committed by my countrymen. The terrible war, which cost far more than 50 million lives, is originated from my country. 75 years later, after the liberation of Auschwitz, I stand before you all as President of Germany, and I stand here laden with the heavy historical burden of guilt. Yet, at the same time, my heart is filled with gratitude. Gratitude for the hands of the survivors stretched out to us. Gratitude for the new trust given to us by people in Israel and across the world. Gratitude for Jewish life is flourishing again in Germany. My soul is moved by this spirit of reconciliation, a spirit which opened up a new and peaceful path for Germany and Israel, for Germany, Europe, and the countries of the world. The eternal flame at Yad Vashem does not go out. Germany's responsibility does not expire. We want to live up to our responsibility. By this, dear friends, you should measure us. I stand before you grateful for this miracle of reconciliation, and I wish I could say that our remembrance has made us immune to evil. Yes, we Germans remember, but sometimes it seems as though we understand the past better than the present. The spirits of evil are emerging in a new guise, presenting their anti-Semitic, racist, authoritarian thinking as an answer for the future, a new solution to the problems of our age. And I wish I could say that we Germans have learned from history once and for all. But I cannot say that when hatred is spreading. I cannot say that when Jewish children are spat on in the schoolyard. I cannot say that when crude anti-Semitism is cloaked in supposed criticism of Israeli policy. And I cannot say that, ladies and gentlemen, when only a thick wooden door prevents a right-wing terrorist from causing a massacre, a bloodbath in a synagogue in the city of Halle on Yom Kippur. Of course, our age is a different age. The words are not the same. The perpetrators are not the same. But it is the same evil. And there remains only one answer. Never again, nie wieder. That is why there cannot be an end to remembrance. This responsibility was woven into the very fabric of the Federal Republic of Germany from day one. But it tests us here and now. This Germany will only live up to itself if it lives up to its historical responsibility. We fight anti-Semitism. We resist to the poison that is nationalism. We protect Jewish life. We stand with Israel. And here in Yad Vashem, I renew this promise before the eyes of the world. And I know that we are not alone. Today we join together to say no to anti-Semitism, no to hatred. From the horror of Auschwitz, the world learned lessons once before. The nations of the world built an order of peace founded upon human rights and international law. We Germans are committed to this order, and we want to defend it with all of you, because this we know: peace can be destroyed and people can be corrupted. Esteemed heads of state and government, I am grateful that together we make this commitment today: a world that remembers the Holocaust, a world without genocide. Who knows? Who knows if we will ever hear again the magical sound of life? Who knows if we can weave ourselves into eternity? Who knows? Salman Gradowski wrote these lines in Auschwitz and buried them in a tin can under the crematorium. Here at Yad Vashem, they are woven into eternity. Salman Gradowski, Samuel and Rieger Tittelmann, Ida and Willy Goldisch, and so many others. They were all murdered. Their lives were lost to unfettered hatred, but our remembrance of them will defeat the abyss, and our action will defeat hatred. Ladies and gentlemen, by this I stand, for this I hope. Baruch atah Adonai, shechayanu bekimanu ve'higyanu lazman hazeh.
Thank you, President Steinmeier. Meaningful Holocaust remembrance is rooted in authentic testimony and freely researched facts presented accurately. The legacy of the Holocaust is conveyed in museums, educational centers, and authentic historical sites in Europe and around the world. We acknowledge recent governmental initiatives such as that of the Ukrainian government in Babi Yar, the Polish government in Sobibor, and the British government in London. They represent the ongoing responsibility to document, teach, and commemorate in a relevant manner. During the Holocaust, 6 million Jews were murdered. During the Second World War, millions more from other communities, cultures, and faiths were killed. Mourning and commemoration are often expressed by the universal language of music. We will now hear excerpts from requiems by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Carl Jenkins, and Camille Saint-Saëns. The orchestra will be joined by choirs from France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States that have come together to represent the peace and harmony that we all strive for.
Take us,
In addition to the Allied armies, during the war, partisan, underground, and other forces fought bravely against the Nazis and their collaborators. During the Holocaust, there was a small minority who mustered extraordinary courage to uphold human values. These were the righteous among the nations, non-Jews who took great risks to rescue Jews during the Holocaust. These courageous persons, over 27,000 recognized already, came from different nations, religions, and walks of life. At the same time, countless numbers of Jews compounded their already tremendous risks during the Holocaust to save their fellow Jews under truly impossible circumstances. We are now about to hear from one of the many thousands of Jews who were rescued during the Shoah by their fellow Jews and by righteous non-Jews. Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, former chief rabbi of Israel, was born in 1937 in Poland. When liberated in 1945 from the Buchenwald concentration camp, he was one of its youngest survivors. Rabbi Lau is chairman of the Yad Vashem Council and a prominent spokesman for the now dwindling community of Holocaust survivors. I am honored to invite Rabbi Lau to deliver his remarks.
President Rivlin, Prime Minister Netanyahu, President of the World Holocaust Forum, Dr. Cantor, leaders of the world, you are here in gathered, leaders of the world, everyone in his country. We have met last night, and I see you today, and I thank you for your kind and warm and touching words you gave us in your speeches, your brotherhood, your friendship, your love, and your commitment for the future. We will never forget. We appreciate it very, very much and very, very deep. Survivors, brothers and sisters, survivors, people of Israel, leaders, Morai v'Rabotai, ladies and gentlemen. 25 years ago, it was 50 years to the liberation of Buchenwald concentration camp, liberated by the American Army on April 11, 1945. I was invited to give a speech for the survivors who survived the camp and survived 50 years later. I came with my brother, late brother Naftali, my hero who saved my life. We came from Israel to Germany. Weimar is the city. Buchenwald is a suburb of Weimar. And I started my words with this comment. This is my second visit to Buchenwald. The third one was 50.5 years earlier. And what is the change? When I came here for the first time, I was a child of 7.5 years. No father anymore, no mother anymore, but a brother. I came here, I had no name. I was just a number. Häftling Nummer 117030. Prisoner 117030. Prisoner. 7.5 years. What a crime did I do till then to be a prisoner. No name. No identity almost. 50 years later, I come from my old, new homeland, the state of Israel. I have a name. My name is Israel Meir Lau. I am not a prisoner anymore. I am the chief rabbi of Israel today. What a change. With such a change from the first visit to the second one, you would say, okay, let's forget it. Let's open a new page, a new chapter. Let's forgive, let's forget. So I came especially to tell you, I cannot forgive because I'm not authorized to forgive. My parents, before they went away, before they were taken away, they didn't ask me to forgive. They asked me to continue the chain, that the Jewish chain will be unbroken, unbroken forever. That's what they said. I do remember my mother, I was already 7.5 almost. Gedenk, remember that you are a Jew. Wherever you go, remember you are a part of a rabbinic chain. Your father, I don't know what happened to him. 2 years that I didn't hear from him. Your father was the 37th generation of a rabbinic dynasty. You are the 38th. Continue the chain. Go on. These were the last words. She didn't speak about forgiveness. What else do you ask me? To forget. Forget? How can I forget? How can I forget? The beatings, the freezings, the starvation. I do remember always also the stars in the very dark tunnel we went through 5.5 years. The righteous among the nations. For some of them, I owe my life. I do remember. But I do remember the sufferings. I do remember the tortures. I do remember the victims. And I can never forget. This is the reason I came from Israel to tell you. Now I want to tell you, dear friends here in Yad Vashem, we appreciate very much your arrival. We appreciate very much your promise to fight anti-Semitism and racism. This is a promise. This is an obligation. This is a duty of mankind at all. And this we will never forget what you have said here today. When we appreciate every word you said to us, and we believe you, that you said it from the bottom of your heart. We do believe. We do believe that this evening here in Yad Vashem in Jerusalem can be a bridge for mankind at all, not only around the Holocaust, but around survival of the word of mankind. What do I mean? If you open the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis, and you meet there what? The story of Noah's ark. There was a flood, and Noah was said by the Lord Almighty, built an ark, and all the animals and your family get into the ark, you will be saved. You will survive it, the flood. 150 days they were in the ark. Who was there? Snakes, leopards, tigers, lions, bears, and also animals like cows and donkeys and hens and doves. One was hurt by the other, 150 days, under the same roof. No one was bitten, no one was hidden, no one was killing, no one was slaughtering, no one eats the other. 150 days. Snakes and children, grandchildren of Noah, no one was hurt. Why? They behaved very nice because they knew that they must behave very nice because there is a common enemy outside of the ark, the flood. And if they will not behave nicely, Noah will send them out of the ark and they are liquidated. They will disappear. So they understood we must live in friendship because we have a common hatred, a common enemy. People, leaders of the world, our guest leaders, don't we have today common enemies? Don't we have a reason to understand what the snake understood in the Ark of Noah? Can't we understand that there are common enemies? All kinds of diseases, the cancer, the AIDS, whatever, heart, brain, starvation, ignorance, crime, nuclear weapon, common enemies. So let's behave like friends. Let's understand at least what the enemies understood. 150 days. They didn't have. Let's understand, and this can come here. It can come from Yad Vashem. It can come from Jerusalem, as the prophet Isaiah and the prophet Micah said in the same words, Ki mitzion teitzeh Torah, udvar Hashem mirushalayim. The voice of the Lord Almighty comes and be spread all over the world. It came from Jerusalem, a city of 4,000 years history. We can never forget. We have to forgive to brothers, and we have to behave like friends and brothers. That's our duty, and this is the conclusion of seeing you. Leaders of the world. The world is in your arms, in your hands, in one way, one sentence, one signature. You can decide upon millions of people. So decide for love and friendship and peace forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Toda rabba, Rabbi Lau. I am honored to invite Mr. Avner Shalev, Chairman of the Yad Vashem Directorate, to deliver the concluding message of this event.
I'm writing this letter before my death, although I don't know the exact day my relatives and I will be killed just because we are Jews. How I yearn to live and reach some good in life, but everything is lost. Farewell. These were the last words of Fania Barbakov before she was murdered in the Droya ghetto in 1942. The Holocaust was the most deadly manifestation of anti-Semitism. It was the outcome of an extreme racist ideology adopted by a modern state to blame one group for all ills of the others. Nazi anti-Semitism was used to legitimize unprecedented cruelty, the systematic murder of millions of innocent people. Even today, the Holocaust seems almost impossible to grasp, but we must do just that, because while the Nazi plan was aimed against the Jews, anti-Semitic atrocities never end with the Jews. The Holocaust was a calamity for the Jewish people and a catastrophe for all people. The Shoah proved that modernity does not ensure morality. Values do not necessarily progress along with technology. 75 years after liberation, Holocaust remembrance is more relevant than ever. It serves as a lighthouse warning us of the danger of extreme racist ideologies. Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, is the gatekeeper of Holocaust memory. It is here in Jerusalem that the voices and legacy of the Shoah victims and survivors are gathered, preserved, and made accessible for all humanity. Memory must be translated into action. Anti-Semitism and all other forms of racism will never be diminished through silence. Tackling anti-Semitism today requires a range of policies and tools, locally, nationally, and internationally. The international forums, such as our here today, fortify a united front against any expressions of racism anywhere in the world. Our mutual duty is to educate the upcoming generations. It is our duty to ensure that everyone understands what constitutes anti-Semitism and remembers where it had led us in the past. As an educator, I realized early on that Yad Vashem must create the International School for Holocaust Studies. Professionals from around the world learn accurate facts about the Shoah and how to communicate the meanings to their communities, peers, and students. Our comprehensive research, numerous exhibitions, robust online presence are additional means to disseminate our knowledge to the global audience. We are all here today because we share a deep concern about what is happening around the world. Your presence gives us hope. Hope of overcoming Holocaust denial and distortion. Hope of securing individual rights and human dignity for all societies. Hope that the world that we entrust to our children will be kinder and more tolerant than the one we inherited from our own parents. Despite the horrors that they witnessed and endured, Holocaust survivors, such as our dear friend Rabbi Lau, did not lose faith in humanity. They chose life and contributed to every society they joined. In 2002, survivors' representatives signed a declaration here at Yad Vashem. To the next generations, they wrote, we pass on a Jewish message that memory leads to moral obligation, as has been said by many other leaders. Memory must be the basis of action and a source of strength. for building a better world. Thank you all for coming and sharing your ideas with us. You should be blessed.
Thank you, Mr. Shalev.
75 years after the fall of Nazi Germany, anti-Semitism is on the rise, reaching levels not seen since the Holocaust.
Stand back to the office!
Today, our societies face not just latent anti-Semitism, but a worldwide crisis of anti-Semitic hate. Once again, Jewish shops are being smashed and Jewish graves desecrated. Once again, Jews are being attacked on the street. Once again, this hate is moving in more and more places. From the margins to the mainstream, from words to extreme violence.
Germany is in shock after an anti-Semitic attack on a synagogue.
Les forces de police en France lançaient l'assaut sur l'hypercachère. Ce sont ces
11 people died after a gunman opened fire during morning service.
Once again, Jews are being murdered simply for being Jews. In 2018 alone, there were 387 violent anti-Semitic incidents, over 100 violent attacks in the US, 68 in the UK, 35 in Germany, a 74% increase in all types of anti-Semitic attacks in France, a 60% increase in Italy, Australia 59%, South Africa 25%. In the face of this crisis, no country is immune. This age-old prejudice is being led by a new triangle of hate, a convergence of the far right, far left, and radical Islamism. Today, extremists can spread their propaganda to millions at the touch of a button. And if they come to power, they may have access to the deadliest weapons known to humanity. Contemporary anti-Semitism finds expression in many forms: anti-Jewish conspiracy theories, Holocaust denial, and the glorification of the Nazis and their collaborators. At times, anti-Semitism is disguised as anti-Zionism. Hatred of Jews can manifest itself in hatred of the Jewish state. Anti-Semitic motifs are used to blame Israel for all the world's ills. And while Jews are the first victims, the ultimate target of this triangle of hate is the very societies in which they live.
They're shooting.
ISIS has claimed responsibility.
Incitement and hate are a means for extremists to attack the foundations of democracies, destabilize governments, and increase their power.
Anti-Semitism is not a problem for the Jewish community alone. It is a menace to democratic values, to social peace and stability. Not only are their vile views coming into the mainstream, but the mainstream is unfortunately sometimes coming to them.
The recent wave of anti-Semitism has already taken too many innocent lives. As the Nazis rose to power, the world did not wake up in time. The world ignored the spread of anti-Jewish propaganda and hate. When the gates of the camps swung open, the world came face to face with the consequences of hatred. Never again is now. Now is the time to fight back. This is a fight not only for the safety of Jewish communities, but for the survival of our nations. The worldwide crisis of anti-Semitism threatens us all, and we must all fight it together.
The distinguished heads of delegations present here today, as well as leaders of additional countries invited to this forum but unable to attend, have made a memorable contribution to Holocaust remembrance and to the fight against anti-Semitism. Each of them has submitted a personal message attesting to their own commitment and that of their nations to remembering the Holocaust and fighting anti-Semitism. These messages have been compiled in a special commemorative volume, which we are pleased to inaugurate and distribute to all the participants here today. The book reflects our shared commitment to effectively transmit the legacy of the Shoah to future generations. We will now conduct a memorial ceremony in memory of those who perished. I am honored to invite Mr. Benny.
Thank you, Tamar. We have gathered here in the Warsaw Ghetto Square at Yad Vashem on the Mount of Remembrance, Jerusalem, to commemorate the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. I'm honored to invite Holocaust survivors Ms. Rose Moskowitz and Ms. Colette Avital, chairperson of the Central Organization of Holocaust Survivors in Israel, to light the memorial torch. Identification. As we kindle the memorial torch, we unite with the blessed memory of 6 million of our people who died a martyr's death at the hands of the German Nazis and their collaborators, of the Jewish communities destroyed in a wicked attempt to eradicate the name and culture of Israel. We remember with veneration the fortitude of the fighters who kindled the sublime flame of rebellion among the besieged masses of the ghettos, the heroic and persistent struggle of the masses of the House of Israel on the threshold of destruction for their human dignity and their Jewish heritage, the righteous among the nations who risked their lives to save Jews from persecution and death. We will now invite the heads of delegations to lay memorial wreaths at the foot of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising Monument. The wreaths will be presented to the heads of delegations by members of the Jerusalem Youth Council. The Honorable Reuven Ruvi Rivlin, President of the State of Israel. The Honorable Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of the State of Israel. His Majesty King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands, His Majesty King Philippe, the King of the Belgians, the Sixth of Spain, His Royal Highness Henri, Grand Duke of Luxembourg, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, the United Kingdom, Crown Prince Håkon Magnus of Norway, His Excellency Mr. Ilir Meta, President of the Republic of Albania, His Excellency Mr. Alberto Fernandez, President of the Argentine Republic, of Armenia, FTSE Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia. Professor Dr. Alexander van der Bellen, President of the Federal Republic of Austria. His Excellency, Mr. Željko Komšić, Chairman of the Presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bulgaria. Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Julie Payette, Governor General of Canada. Republic of Croatia. His Excellency Mr. Nikos Anastasiades, President of the Republic of Cyprus. His Excellency Mr. Andrej Babiš, Prime Minister of the Czech Republic. Her Excellency, Ms. Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister of Denmark. Reeds of the European Union, His Excellency Mr. Charles Michel, President of the European Council, Her Excellency Ms. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, His Excellency Mr. David Sassoli, President of the European Parliament. His Excellency Mr. Sauli Niinistö, President of the Republic of Her Excellency Mrs. Salome Zurabishvili, President of Georgia. His Excellency Dr. Frank-Walter Steinmeier, President of the Federal Republic of Germany. His Excellency Mr. Prokopios Pavlopoulos, President of the Hellenic Republic. His Excellency His Excellency Mr. Guðni Jóhannesson, President of the Republic of Iceland. His Excellency Mr. Sergio Mattarella, President of the Republic of Italy. His Excellency Mr. Igor Dodon, President of the Republic of Moldova. His Excellency Mr. Serge Tel, Minister of State of the Principality of Monaco. His Excellency Mr. Milo Djukanovic, President of Montenegro. His Excellency Professor Dr. Stevo Pendarovsky, President of the Republic of North Macedonia. His Excellency Mr. Marcelo Rebelo de Souza, President of the Portuguese Republic. His Excellency Mr. Klaus Iohannis, President of Romania. Federation. His Excellency Mr. Aleksandar Vučić, President of the Republic of Serbia. Her Excellency Ms. Zuzana Chaputova, President of the Slovak Republic. His Excellency Mr. Borut Pahor, President of the Republic of Slovenia. His Excellency Mr. Stefan Löfven, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Sweden. His Excellency Mr. David Friedman, Ambassador of the United States to the State of Israel for Vice President Mike Pence. His Excellency Mr. Oktay Asado, Chairman of the Milli Mejlis. Chairman of the House of Representatives, National Assembly of the Republic of Belarus. Her Excellency, Ms. Inara Murnece, Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Latvia. His Excellency Mr. Viktoras Pranckietis, Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Lithuania. The Honorable Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States of America. His Eminence Cardinal Kurt Koch, President of the Holy See's Commission for Religious Relations with the Jews. The Honorable Moshe Leon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Cantor Shai Abramson will now recite El Melero Hamim, a prayer for the souls of the martyrs. Please rise.
שוכן במרומים, דיין אלמנות ואבי יתומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי עלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מרים ומזהירים לנשמות 6 מיליונים אחינו ואחיותינו רבבות רבבות אלפי ישראל אנשים נשים וטף שנהרגו שנשחטו שנשרפו שנחנקו שנקברו ושומטו בכל מיני מיטות משונמנים הנאצים ויוזריהם. ושהלכו לעולמם על קידוש השם. מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים את נשמותיהם בגן עדן תן מנוחתם אדוני ונחלתם ושלום על משכבותם ונאמר אמן.
Mr. Naftali Deutsch, Holocaust survivor, will now recite Kadesh, the mourner's prayer.
גדל יתקדש שמי רבה, בעל מדי ברק ורסי, וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנצה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמע דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דם ירם בימה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה משמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ונאמר אמן.
You may be seated. Not for long. Soon we will hold a moment of silence in memory of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust and other victims. All on stage, Cardinal Kurt Koch, Mr. Serge Tell, Minister of State Monaco, Ms. Inara Murniece, Speaker, Latvia, Mr. Viktoras Panktietis, Speaker, Belarus, Mr. Oktay Asadov, Chair, National Assembly, Azerbaijan. Ms. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker, United States. Mr. Andrej Babiš, Prime Minister of the Czech Republic. Please come forward. Governor General David Hurd, General Julie Payette, Canada. Mr. Ilir Meta, President, Albania. Mr. Alberto Fernandez, President, Argentina. President, Austria. Mr. Zeljko Komšić, Chairman of Presidency, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Mr. Rumen Radev, President of Bulgaria. Mrs. Kolinda Grabar Kitarović, President of Croatia. Mr. David Sassoli, President of the European Parliament. Mr. Charles Michel, President of the European Union. Mr. Nikos Anastasiades, President of Cyprus. Mr. Sauli Niinistö, President of Finland. Mrs. Salome Zurabishvili, President of Georgia. Mr. Prokopios Pavlopoulos, President of the Hellenic Republic. Mr. Ader János, President of Hungary. Mr. Guðni Johansson, President of Iceland. Mr. Igor Dodon, President of Moldova. Mr. Milo Đukanović, President of Montenegro. Professor Dr. Stevo Pendarovski, President of North Macedonia. Mr. Klaus Ioannis, President of Romania. His Majesty King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands, Mr. Alexander Vučić, President of Serbia, Ms. Zuzana Čaputova, President of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Borut Pahor, President of Slovenia, Mr. Stefan Löfven, Prime Minister of Sweden, His Majesty King of the Belgians, His Majesty King Felipe VI of Spain, His Royal Highness Henri of Magnus of Norway. Mr. Sergio Mattarella, Dr. Frank-Walter Steinmeier, President of Germany, Mr. Reuven Rivlin, our own President, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, our Prime Minister, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, Dr. Moshe Kantor, Mr. Avner Shalev. For the moment of silence. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem of the State of Israel, Hatikva. You may be seated. This concludes our program. We thank you all. Have exited. Thank you.